We begin tonight with the aftermath from Derek Chauvin's verdict. The jury found Chauvin guilty on all three charges: second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. There's not only growing anger over Maxine Waters and Joe Biden's comments before the verdict, but Biden is slammed for his ignorant comments where he disparaged the U.S. as a racist nation. Listen to this.
And this takes acknowledging and confronting head-on systemic racism and the racial disparities that exist in policing and in our criminal justice system more broadly.
Joining me now to discuss is co-chair for Women for Trump and attorney Madison Gesiotto. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you're here. Clearly nothing will satisfy the woke mob with riots already breaking out in left-wing Portland and New York. What do you make of Biden refusing to condemn communist China, a government filled with actual racists against blacks, instead slamming the country he allegedly leads?
I think Biden's comments have been wildly irresponsible, not just the one you just played, but many comments, especially in regards to China. Keeping in mind, of course, that President Biden is part of the reason why China has become the superpower that it is today, looking back to the early 2000s when he was in Congress pushing for China to be accepted into the World Trade Organization, claiming they would never be more of a threat to the United States than the Netherlands. And we fast forward, of course, seeing those human rights abuses committed by the CCP, by China, against Muslims, against others, against disabled people, horrific crimes against humanity happening in that country. Biden, of course, turning a blind eye to that, turning a blind eye to the fault that China has in regards to the coronavirus pandemic that plagued the world for the past year. And so it's super frustrating. It's super frustrating to see this, the attacks on people of our own country that I don't think are true when we talk about racism, and we take that, of course, out of context in many of these comments, and that's inciting, racial violence. It's inciting division among the American people. It's not productive, and it's very disappointing to see the leader of the free world making irresponsible comments like this, and while at the same time, as you say, ignoring the truth about countries like China.
That's all he does. Let me see what you think about this. Former President Trump, as you were well aware, impeached for allegedly inciting violence. But Maxine Waters is supported and protected by her socialist caucus for actually inciting violence. And her words could lead to Chauvin having his charges dismissed. Doesn't this prove that Democrats have zero credibility, deserve no trust from Americans as members of government?
Yeah, they're hypocritical, and they're following their own political agendas instead of doing what's right. They're holding one person to one standard, one person to another standard. This is not the first time that Maxine Waters has made comments inciting violence. It's very concerning when you see what was happening not only with Maxine Waters, but with President Biden, with other members of Congress that have made comments inappropriately about the Chauvin trial itself. The Judge Cahill, of course, coming forward saying that this may result, in a good appeal for the Chauvin defense. And so while, of course, we look nationwide appeals being denied in over 90% of cases, so there's a small chance of success on the appeal, but there will be an appeal here almost with 100% certainty, and that appeal could potentially be successful as a result of comments like Maxine Waters' comments, if, of course, in fact, the jury did hear these, which I'm guessing that they did. Yeah. There's other concerns, of course, in this case that they will raise as well on appeal.
Yeah, and Biden's comments as well that were completely inappropriate. Ahead of the Chauvin verdict, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler declared a state of emergency in his town after Antifa put out flyers calling for violence, regardless of the verdict. Now, if these were supposed to be peaceful protests, as in the mainstream media, standing in front of cars and buildings, they often say it's all peaceful. If it's supposed to be peaceful, why would you call out the National Guard?
Well, because it's not peaceful. And as we see following this verdict, that there are certain people out there, specifically Antifa being one of them, domestic terrorist organizations, and others that are committed to violence. It does not matter whether there is a guilty verdict in this case, because they're not out there truly as a result of this case. They are out there. They're committing violence against businesses. They're destructing large portions of cities, charities, $20,000 of damage done to the Girls and Boys Club of Portland. What they're doing is just absolutely ridiculous. And of course, going back to the fact that it's not rooted in these ideals that they're claiming that it is, and support for racial justice, that's not at all what they're pushing for. And these people are not the same people that are the peaceful protesters that are committed to real justice.
Yeah, we're gonna get into this coming up here in the program, but there was an attack on a taqueria, a restaurant, by BLM Marxists. They were threatening white people and they were threatening Latinos. Maybe Biden has a point. There is systemic racism in this country, and it's all on his side of the political aisle. Madison, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.